Jackson County Commission work session, March 2nd, 2020 to order. Roll call, Mr. Manning.
Mr. Rich,
Present.
Mr. Venable,
Present.
Ms. Gilbert,
Present.
Mr. Sis,
Present.
Chairman present.
We have a quorum, so, next, we'll have a prayer by Mr. Porter and our pledge by Mr. Venable.
Lord God, our Father, we are again blessed to be here. We're thankful for this country, thankful for this county. We're thankful for the democratic process. We get to vote. Whatever the outcome, God, we pray that we will honor the persons that are elected as we are taught to, because we know that they serve only at your pleasure. God, we're also right now, we pray for those that have been affected by the virus, the coronavirus, that those that have been affected will have a speedy recovery. We pray that it will not spread further than it already has. Watch over us, God, and guide us every day. In Christ's name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll need to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No awards and presentations. And no public comments. We'll move on to discussion items. First thing on our discussion items, excuse me, is County Road 412. And we got Mayor Shelton and Stacy Level here to go over
412.
what you got.
Got one big map and then a map for each of you. As you know, borrow this, Mr. Porter. As you know, the city is in the process of building a new sale addition at our landfill, and we, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, for the public's benefit, could you get the mic?
Appreciate it. Yeah. What map?
No, he's got a handheld one back there.
Sure.
That was one of the biggest complaints last week. Could everyone speak up, so?
Speak up. Thank you. Is it on? Can you hear me now? All right. Anyway, the city of Scottsboro is in the process of building a new sale at our landfill, and as part of this sale, we're going to be moving our maintenance building and so forth, and what we're asking for is for the county to consider vacating a portion of County Road 412. Your map will show the property boundaries of the city property there in Hollywood, and so it's something that we would like for you to consider over the next several months. Our sale construction won't start till later this year, and we need everything to stay as is until this sale is built and in operation. But at that point, you can see we would like to close, it's right at 2,000 feet of County Road 412, and just put gates up. I've driven the road multiple times, and all residents affected would have closer access to Highway 72. I don't think it's going to affect anybody traveling through the city-owned property. But it would be of great benefit to us, and just asking for your consideration on closing this portion of 412. I'll take any questions, or we can come back at a later date. I know it's a lot to take in.
Would it be the city's intent to open either or both gates during the day?
Oh yeah,
Or
once
what would-
we come in of the morning, the landfill people will come in, personnel. That gate will be open for obviously the traffic coming from either direction. It would just be closed at night, and that road would be closed at night on the city property.
Would first responders be notified? I mean, ambulances?
It would be something that we would publish, and there'd be ample notice put out, and realistically, for this to go into effect is, I would say, a minimum 6 months down the road, if not 9 months. So just something to consider, but yes, during the day, both gates would be open.
And the city owns property on both sides.
Yes.
Good.
And at some point, way down the road, probably beyond my lifetime, where the road is vacated, could potentially be another sale addition for the landfill. And if that's something that does happen as far as closing the road, it would possibly affect whether or not we need to buy additional property as we look at the footprint of the landfill itself. So, but that has been identified as potential space many years down the road. So, just wanted to bring it for consideration.
Thanks.
Anybody got any more
These
questions?
gates, Mayor, just mainly for security.
Sir?
I said the gates.
We have
mainly-
to by ADM, we have to lock the
So you
landfill
need
at
at
night.
least more access where you'd have security.
Yeah,
I
It-
understand.
it's strictly a security, no trespassing area after hours.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Mayor.
So, do we want to go ahead and put this on the meeting? We may, the other date, I want to put it on the meeting for.
Yeah, can we have it on one more work session, just?
Yep.
Mr. Campbell has time, I don't know if we're gonna rename the road on each end, if we need to assign new numbers, or.
It would probably work best for 911.
Okay. Put that on the next work session. Next be the fire boats. Mayor Shep, again. I wanted to go ahead and bring this up. It's been a topic, in the city council. I'll just let the mayor explain what those guys are doing.
Okay, I had brought up after all the events that happened at County Park, and a little back history, Chief Nicholas and I had already had some discussions with the city council about purchasing some fire boats as we try to promote our lake and recreation there and so forth. But after the tragic event that week, I ran into Tim down there, and Chief and I had already talked about it again, and I ran into Tim and said, as we move forward, we need to talk about this, and would like for the county to consider possibly figuring out a way to partner or keep one here and one at Goose Pond Colony and so forth. And he said, well, I'm not sure we are in a position that we can do something right now, but certainly, after we see what insurance does and we get beyond this, something to consider. And then later that week, I saw Jason at the county park and basically had the same conversation, and he thought it was a good idea and, it was something that would have to be discussed with everybody. And since then, I had brought it up at a council meeting, and the council, actually it's on our work session tonight, but what I'm formally requesting is that the city, I feel very confident, is going to move forward in purchasing 2 fire boats. And we want to keep one at Goose Pond Colony and one at County Park. And so we'd like for the county to participate in that, just really from a storage standpoint. And I think Chief, if you've got any questions, he's very adamant, and I agree that the fireboat would be at its own dock. It wouldn't be as part of the slips of, multiple slips on a particular pier. Those are details that would have to be worked out. The same with Goose Pond Colony. We don't want it to be where we couldn't get quick access. But all we're asking for at this time is support in the project, and y'all to look at, and as we move forward, a place to store the boat. And if it's in your means somewhere down the road that you could contribute financially, that's great. I'm not here asking for that. I'm not asking for that. But we just appreciate a partnership in that regard, because the chief is very committed to the boat, as am I, and the training and all that goes with it, equipping it. But the dock space we have no control over. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm here for tonight.
Okay. Any questions for Mayor on the boats?
I'd just like to say, appreciate you coming to us about it, Mayor. I think it's a good idea. When you approached me about it down there,
Yeah.
I could only speak for
Exactly.
myself. But
And you said, we'd have to talk more
I
about
can't
it.
imagine that the commission wouldn't want to participate, our financial
Yeah.
situation, but the park's a standalone entity, so we might be able to do something from the park's revenue once we get back up and
Yeah.
running and get our full revenue back. We might be able to do something through the park's revenue that wouldn't affect the
Right.
general fund.
Well, and as far as the logistics of where it's located and all that, we're hoping TVA might participate, but would like an independent dock, a floating dock that's just dedicated for this specific boat. And I think that's, at this point, that's what we're asking for. And it'll be the same with Goose Pond. And if it's where one or two or all could come tonight and have that discussion with the whole council body, I know Goose Pond's gonna be represented as well. And that's the biggest concern right now is just, you know, we don't wanna buy a boat or two boats and have to trailer it every time. We want quick access.
Right.
Thank you for including us,
Thank you,
Mayor.
I feel like it was a good concern, Mayor. I mean, it came out in the paper, I think it got interpreted probably somehow or another the
Yeah.
wrong way, 'cause
Well, I can say my private conversations with the two at different times was, you know, one was, let's see what insurance does, and the other was, yeah, we need
Right.
to discuss it as a whole body.
Right.
So,
anything to be a safety issue would be great.
yeah, thank you.
Mayor, I do appreciate you bringing that. You've always been good to work with the county, and I appreciate the relationship you brought forth to the county and city, so I appreciate that. Chief, I want to thank you for the job that you and your guys done that night. I hadn't had a chance to talk to you, so I know Paul's here, but we really do appreciate everything that you guys done, and can't thank you enough.
If I may, I appreciate you, and I saw most of you down there. I appreciate Paul's office, and I want to say nothing but great things about the MA office, about you guys, about our volunteer departments. They all chipped in, were right there with us, and the rescue squad specifically. So, but I appreciate you mentioning it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jean, I'd like to say one other thing. I got there just shortly after it started, and I just want to express my sympathy to all you firefighters. I know it was a bad night and a bad time for us, but everybody, all the volunteer fire departments acted professionally, and they done an outstanding job, and I want to praise you for that. And Scottsboro and everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3 is your SSUT tax. If you'll look in your packet, you'll have a draft on earmarking those dollars. I'd like to have some discussion on that.
I think we had mentioned a larger amount to go toward the council on aging and senior programs, but discussion with Bob, I think there may be some funding changes or something to some of the other reimbursements we get, so we thought we might ought to drop that amount down.
Yes, sir.
We budgeted $325 or $350? $350 for this, and we're anticipating it coming in
Yeah, a little higher.
well over that, closer to maybe even over $500,000. So we passed the budget deficit of almost 300,000. So this will put our budget in the positive, maybe as much as 300,000.
Positive 300.
Yeah.
But it, maybe not that much, but we will be a positive. It'll be close. It just depends on how the rest of the year goes, but it'll be close.
Well, maybe another work session or two, I would like to discuss if we're gonna free up $300,000 toward putting money toward our senior programs in the general fund, or general fund not gonna run a deficit with our 20+% turnover rate, the problem we're having retaining people, and the problem we're having attracting applicants. Maybe we'll look at doing something for the employees with this.
And it'll be a good time, because I think Auburn study should be coming back. We just like to think they like 2 more. Once we get those back, we should have a real good feeling on where everybody should be, and that may help us out.
Mr. Chairman, on the number 2, where it says the 300 or anything over that sum to go to the jail,
Yes,
that, just to clarify, is in addition, I mean, not in addition to any money going to the jail, but to replace the money coming out of the general fund, correct?
yes, ma'am.
And I agree with Mr. Venable on the freeing up the money to help with employees.
My only issue on this, Mr. Venable,
Excuse me.
we earmark this, it kind of makes it a little more uncertainty. I mean, I know we got this is gonna face us each year, but it makes it a little harder, I guess, for us to arrive with more funding when we're trying to seek money each and every day, because we got so many of the different agencies that need this, so it's just kind of, I've tried to figure it out here the last couple of weeks and see, you know, about earmarking was the correct way or not, you know. But, 'cause like I said, we know we've got this facing us, but we've got so many other things that's out there, and some things that's even unseen, so I kind of question that. I talked with you the other day about that.
Well, you know, we don't have any funding source for the jail. The jail is paid completely out of the general fund. We don't have any funding source outside of, some federal and state aid stuff to, you know, for some of our senior programs, and, I mean,
It's very little.
with up for discussion, whatever anybody wants to do, but I just, feel like, we needed to lock those, those funds down. That's a revenue stream is growing. I know there's a lot of talk, League of Municipalities and the state, education wanting to, get some of those funds, because when they started out, they didn't anticipate it being very much money. I think we budgeted $40,000 the first year, and it's outperformed every year. And I just feel like it would do us well to earmark and say where those dollars are going to go year in and year out.
I agree. I mean, we've come to a place to where our seniors, if we don't do something, our senior services is our last appropriation. Since me and you took office in 2012, we've cut every appropriation that was being given, except for Council on Aging. And that is something that I don't want to see anything happen to, and I feel like this is a way to protect it and ensure that we keep our senior services where it's there for those people, because they really do need it. The rural transportation, senior RX, I've talked to several people who, if it wasn't for senior RX, could not, it would be a decision between eating or medicine. So, I mean, it's vital that we keep our senior services going.
Well, I totally agree with that. I mean, I didn't mean anything negative on that approach, because, you know, I'm drawing near that senior citizen thing myself, so anything we can do be a plus for that. But I just was looking at it like, I don't know if it's an appropriate thing to go with, and us trying to seek extra money to bring into the county. I was just leaving it open. That's all the discussion I was trying to put out.
Anybody else got any discussion on the SSUT tax? All right, if nothing else, we'll put it on next week's meeting. Next, be extending Council on Aging temporary bus driver. Basically, Ms. Thurman is just asking us to extend that for another 6 months. It ain't bringing on anybody else, it's just the current driver they have. Any discussion on that? We'll move that to next week's meeting. Number 5, be a surplus commission IT truck. Excuse me. This truck, how many miles on that truck?
15,000.
How many?
15,000.
The one we're surplus.
265, 275.
Yeah. It's well past, we need to get that out of our inventory. So that's the one that Ross used to drive.
Every light is on. It's in bad shape.
Good.
Ready? Are we gonna, I assume, put it on gov deals while we have done
Yes,
some of
sir.
the other
If that's,
equipment that is
yeah, if that's good with the commission,
late in its life,
Yeah.
past its life?
it is.
What is this? That Tundra, silver Tundra, is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
All right, if nobody has a problem, we'll put that on next week's meeting. Number 6, county vehicle policy. That's become an issue. So we wanna talk tonight about creating a policy, that'll stipulate who drives vehicles and who don't, and then what the rules are.
Want to have Mr. Porter to start on a vehicle policy to go in our handbook and maybe have it at the next work session. Is that the way we want to approach it?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Mr. Porter, could you do that for, have it for the next work session?
Mr. Chairman, I've been the one that's been bringing this up, and, you know, we need to get a little more discussion on it, because I still feel the same way. I don't feel like it's necessary to be driven back and forth to the home. As far as personal business, I'm fine, but if it pertains to county, anything right here, is okay with me. Gary's sitting back there laughing. I don't know what he's laughing about, probably because I said personal business, but
Yeah,
I didn't mean to
don't-
say
I don't
personal
use it
business.
for personal business.
I knew when I said that. I'm talking about business that pertains to the county, put it that way, instead of personal business, that I'm okay with. But as far as it being driven otherwise, I'm not. Now, I don't know how the rest of my constituents feel, but I just feel like we're trying to bring money and control spending, and I see it as a waste myself.
Maybe before Mr. Porter starts a policy, maybe the next work session, if the chairman wants to bring in some of his past expenditures on the driving of his personal vehicle, that way we could look at it, 'cause
Be glad to.
I mean, it's my understanding that it's actually cheaper for the chairman to have his vehicle than it would charging mileage, like, going Montgomery, Prattville, Birmingham or something, at 58 cents a mile.
In 2019, of course, now we didn't give a lot for the truck that we're driving, but in 2019, if you take the amount of gas and the amount that we pay for the truck, it would have saved $4,000 in 2019 if I'd been driving a truck versus driving my personal truck at 58 cents a mile.
Well, there's no question on 58 cents a mile, but you still hadn't answered my question. Driving back and forth to home. That's what I'm asking, Mr. Chairman. I mean, why do you feel it's deemed necessary to have to drive as your own personal vehicle?
Because I'm on call 24/7.
24/7.
And I have been out at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning on different issues. So that's why.
Well, I still disagree with that part.
Okay.
I guess I could say I was on call 24/7 also.
That's fine.
Also,
You do,
there's a lot of times I'm called out, a lot of things that I help out with the volunteer fire department, but that's part of my job, and I'm not asking for no compensation for it.
Well, we currently allow our people such as Public Works Department that's on call to drive a vehicle home, and they're taxed, if you will, what is it, $3 a day or
Yes.
something like that. So I mean, the chairman's not driving it for absolutely no cost. That is, I'm sure, being taken out of his pay
It
each
is.
period. And I know the chairman's been really good to help with the sheriff's department, auxiliary deputy, and I don't have an issue with it. We just need to look at the dollars, look and see. As long as it's not costing the county money, we purchased those 2 vehicles that from the revenue commissioner's department. We're going to buy 2 new vehicles with money other than the county money. It was the revenue commissioner's dollars. We only paid 15%, 14.9% or something of their expenditures. So it costs the county very little money to buy those 2 vehicles, and I'd like to look at the numbers, maybe the next work session, and then move forward from there.
Also, Mr. Venable, if you'll remember on the 18th of June, I believe it was, in the budget hearing, that this was brought up and approved by this body 100%.
It was, indeed.
But I don't remember it being brought up and said you was gonna use it for your own personal gain, though. That part is the only question I have. But, you know, I was elected by the people, and I mean, if I'm gonna sit right here and okay everything, you know, I don't feel like I'm doing my job. I mean, I'm not trying to cause conflict by no means. But, that's just where I stand on this. You mentioned also,
Everybody up here was elected by the people.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned also she's only one in the state that did not have a vehicle. That's not correct.
No, I didn't say that. I
Yes,
said
you
there's
did.
67 chairmen, and the majority of them do have a vehicle.
Yeah, but you told me you was the only one, and according to Sonny Braswell, that's not correct.
There's some that do and some that don't. It's up to the commission to decide whether or not we want to allow that. So we'll look at the numbers next work session. If that's all right with everybody.
Yeah.
Go from there.
All right, number 7 is the old DHR building. Has everybody give that some thought to what this body would like to do about that building?
I would like to take sealed bids on it, have a opening day for those sealed bids, either proposals for somebody leasing the building, or if somebody wants to bid on purchasing the building outright, and then we'll have something to look at it. I mean, right now, we don't know.
Yeah, I agree on the leasing part too, especially because we're looking for some kind of source of revenue, so that would be a source of revenue if possible. I know, Mr. Venable, you said you were against being in the rental property business, but we kind of sort of already are with KC's and the watercraft, so
Well,
it should be just something to entertain the thought and see where the money was going and see how much money we're looking at there.
well, the KC's and the watercraft and the cabins and the camping, that's the county park separate budget. This would be getting
Yeah.
the general fund into rental property, and I'm just against that. But I mean, we'll do whatever the commission as a body decides to do, but I'm willing to look at whatever numbers come in.
We're just always looking for a source of revenue. I just thought we'd entertain it and see where it went.
So you're requesting to take sealed bids for purchase or leasing?
Proposals.
Right.
Now, this is not gonna actually be the final say-so, is it?
Now, we'll get
Correct.
we will receive, hopefully, several proposals. We'll look at them and we can either decide to do something completely different, or we can accept one of the proposals and move forward. I would assume, am I not correct, Mr. Porter?
Yes, sir, and you probably ought to discuss, if you're gonna set the terms of the lease, or you want the bidder to set the terms of the lease. It'll be a 1-year lease, 5-year lease, 10-year lease, whatever. You can leave that up to the bidder. If you ask for sealed bids for lease, then the bidder will submit the terms that they are willing to go by, or this commission can say, we're gonna submit bids for 5 years, renewable for 5 years. Or
We also need to limit what we're responsible for. I mean, HVAC, the roof, and the parking lot, I would think would be the only things that we would be willing to do regular maintenance on.
Right.
And then I would be fine, if we wanted to set a 5-year with a possible 5-year renewal.
You want to do that or leave it to the bidder? Which way?
I'd rather everybody be bidding on the same thing, because you're gonna get,
Set a
a
proposal
mixed
for
bag
fund.
of stuff if we're not careful.
How many square feet is that building?
18,000 and some change, I think.
And then we need to address though, like, what kind of reconstruction, if they'll be free to reconstruct to do, what they need to do, or what, at that point.
Yeah, I would, the county, I don't think needs to put any money toward remodeling it.
No,
for
but I mean,
anybody
just
or anything.
what we're allowing them to do or not to do,
Oh, yeah,
take out
yeah,
walls,
yeah,
things like
yeah.
that, might need to be some kind of guidance in there.
Yeah,
those kind of things would normally be covered in the lease itself.
Okay.
It'd be hard to, you can, we can set out a very detailed criteria
It seems to me like what you're looking for is, you know, is it economically feasible to lease this building or not?
Okay.
And if you can do it on 5-year lease with 5-year renewals, with the provisions that we're not responsible for any cost other than what normally would be covered in the commercial lease, then the rest of that as to what improvements they can make without our written permission, then we can cover all that in the lease agreement itself.
Thank you, sir.
And also, would it, need to make sure about the subleasing, if somebody wanted to rent it and sublease it out to somebody else, you know, I don't think that would be, you know, a good idea.
Or give me that, have this ready for the next work session?
Yes, I was gonna say maybe the next work session, and maybe we could draw up some type of frame, you know, some type of agreement or.
I'll try to kind of I took what y'all have mentioned tonight, and I can put it all together and bring it to the next work session, and then we can add or take away from that.
Sounds good to me.
Anybody else got anything on the old DHR building?
Has anybody checked out the roof, the leak? Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne has got somebody going over it this week.
Okay.
DXB reports from staff, Mr. Manning.
We take number
Wait a
8.
minute, we got
We
eight.
got 8, 9.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tim
Where-
have something we don't have.
Oh,
We got three more items.
Yeah, I got an old one, sorry about that. All right, number 8, contract custodian for the Public Works Department. Where's Mr. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. You should have a draft copy of the contract in your packets, and I'll just briefly explain the intent of this. One is to alleviate some funds from the general fund that would now be out of our funds, and 2 is just to maintain our facility, nice facility. So the intent for that, I think, covers some shorthandedness that the custodians are experiencing now from the maintenance aspect of the general fund. So we provide that contract as a solution for both of those things.
Okay. Somehow that didn't get put in
I
there.
don't have any.
I don't have anything on that.
No contract? I have a draft copy. Number 6, I think, needs some revision that we've determined, but if that's the only one, so if you don't mind to pass it along.
Have you had a chance to look at that?
Quick overlook.
Briefly.
Okay.
Do you need it back right now?
I looked at it today, I could only see one thing on it that, to me, wasn't correct, so I'll get with you about that. It's pretty basic, it'd be basically coming back and there's no benefits, to it, it'd just be a contract for the hours that she works.
If you want to move forward with that, put it on the agenda for next week. I'll revise that draft and get it out to everybody so you can have it
Okay.
for next week.
Everybody good with, let Mr. Porter revise that and email it out to everybody, and then we can vote on it, and then if somebody's got a problem, we can always table it next week.
How long was the contract? I said, just briefly, what was it? How long time period was
Does
it?
it have a time frame on this one?
There's no time frame on that. It would be at the department's discretion.
Okay, I just, like I said, I didn't look over it too well. Thank you, John.
Number 9, speed limit on County Road 364. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Chairman. This comes to us by citizen request, and you should find in your packet a resolution to set a speed other than a non-posted 45 on County Road 364. This was determined by engineering methods, so from a speed study, we evaluate that and then exercise engineering judgment in the horizontal, vertical alignment, housing population, etc. So I have the supporting details to the traffic study if you're interested in viewing those. Basically, just as a reminder, that's 85th percentile speed limit that we look at to set a benchmark for what is already being driven and what is deemed safe for the conditions that exist on the roadway.
Anybody got any more questions on 364 speed limit? No, we'll put that on next week's meeting. Number 10, be Public Works truck bids.
Thank you, Chairman. There should be 3 different categories, and in your packets, there should be bid tabs for each category of truck. What we tried to do is list who all the solicitations were mailed out to, and then the bids that we received. So on most of those, you'll notice that state bid was the lower of all that were received, with the exception of one type of truck, and that was the dealership in Fort Payne that we had purchased previously by. They were actually lower on one category. And just a little more information, this is just staying consistent with the surplus and purchase plan that was approved previously. This is the stage we talked about, that once we actually send out the solicitations, receive the bids, they'll come before you all before we actually pull the trigger and purchase. So if there are any questions about numbers of vehicles or the categories we talked about, et cetera, I'd be happy to answer any questions I may.
Are the bids in the ballpark you were expecting?
We're actually below, if you remember when we were going through the different categories of this capital outlay, we estimated conservatively. So we're about 40,000 under in 2 categories. Okay, so they're a little under what we had presented to you.
Very good, thank you.
All right, any more questions on the bid? If everybody's good with it, we'll put it on next week's meeting. Next be reports from staff. Mr. Campbell, do you have anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Porter? Mr. Nash, you have anything? Ms. Rice, you have anything to share with the forum? Paul, you have anything?
No, sir.
Next be comments by commission, Mr. Sis.
I'd just like to say, tomorrow is one of the freedoms we still have, but just everybody go out and exercise their freedom to vote, and just examine the candidates and decide who you want to help lead this county. Thank you.
Ms. Gilbert.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Venable.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what Mr. Sis said. Just, I think it's supposed to be raining, and believe it or not, tomorrow. But everybody just be careful getting out to the polls, but do please get out.
Mr. Rich.
I'd like to say good luck to everybody that's in the running. Be sure everybody gets out and votes. It's gonna be raining, I hope. It don't rain bad, but get everybody and get them to go vote, and appreciate it. Everybody have good luck tomorrow.
All right, that's it for today. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.